the meditation process for centering and coming into the higher levels of consciousness. So I think tonight, before I start getting into what the evening is going to be about, let's establish ourselves at a powerful level, a receptive level by doing meditation. Okay? And as I explained before, breath, we know, breath is God. Breath is all that God is, and breath is literally what we live on. When we're breathing that breath correctly, we get all the, it's like a substance that is a miracle substance, that is life itself, contains all the intelligence of the universe. So when we breathe, and what I would suggest that we'll start by breathing in 7 to a count of 7 if you can, hold 7 if you can, and then release 7 if you can. And we'll do that sequence 3 times, taking it easy, and just concentrating on charging up on breath, okay? Literally like you're a battery, breathing in and charging up every atom and every cell of your being on the infinite breath. And the reason I say 3 times is that 21 is the number of completion. So doing this 3 times over leads you to your high goal. Okay? And we'll start now, as we start, know when you're breathing in that breath, and breathe within and have a sense of you moving, that you're taking that breath from your feet and moving it all the way up through all the chakras, through the entire body, and up, releasing it out through the head. Okay? And when you breathe it in, I know you all established goals last week, so these are our main goals during the course of this process. We want to see that demonstrated. So in fact, know, when you breathe in, that you're breathing in the whole substance of your goal, the whole length of your goal. Okay? So let us go within, to the holy space where all of God is, all life, all love, all substance of anything we could possibly need. And let us now breathe in to 7 through the nose. Hold 7. Expel 7. Breathe in again. Hold 7, disturbing that light and breath from every cell. Expel 7. Breathe in 7. Now we know that we have attained, we are in the place of highest awareness right now. Each one is now cognizant of their complete And let us now move up gently in mind to the highest of the high, to the crown of glory, the top of the head, rising out gently and flowing out into the wide universe of infinite radiant substance, one with all that is. And here we now find ourselves looking from heaven's point of view, viewing the beautiful God planet Earth and all within. And as we view from the higher place the planet, we recognize that this is God's planet. It is a one body of bountiful light. It is the divine planet of the human family, of all love and unity, where all are one, all countries, all cities, all families, all friends, near and to the furthest, the farthest, far. There is only the light of radiant oneness. And this family, we know, is a divine idea that is meant to emanate the light of unity and love far, vastly far, up into the heavens and beyond, joining the starless sky, all the planets that are, recognizing our unity with all of divine mind manifestation. We know that unity, sharing, freedom, and magnificent ideas of prosperity are indeed God's idea for each and every being in the one body of love. And each one regards preciously the inheritance of the earth and all good things that we have collectively and individually. All the assets and resources of the human family that have been given from on high are our inheritance to use in utmost livingness and joy. We know our resources are of God. They are of the Most High. And as such, they are to share, to enjoy and to share in balance, in rhythm and harmony with the entire universe. We know this is God's idea of the circle, of good going round, limitlessly. And we remember, I am Alpha and Omega. That which I am has always been, and I am that now. We remember, even more than ever before, the incredible importance of aligning with the principle, love thy neighbor, near and far, as thyself. We are grateful for our individual assets and recognize the divine gifts of the Creator are ours to share with all. There is no separation anymore in our consciousness from the all-good and from the all-prosperous one. Now in our minds and from the high places we view bridges being put up all over the world. Vast bridges connecting land masses that it is possible to travel all over the planet Earth in completeness and wholeness. Connecting links are being manifest everywhere, and are connecting links north-south from heaven to earth. The light bridge is also built. The whole world is unified now in divine recognition. All division, separation, lack, limitation have dissolved and disappeared forever. And we know this is the blissful idea of the Creator whose time has come. Now we dissolve within ourselves any traces of separation from good. With our mighty power of love and light, we stream that light and love from every chakra, every brain cell, every memory, anywhere and everywhere it is necessary. That in breathing, indeed now, we have joined our substance. We are one eternally, prospering eternally, one with God. So be it, and so it is. So last week we talked about setting a foundation, that we know that the truth now we recognize, regardless of our past experiences, is that the only truth about the nature of the universe is that it is abundant, it is prosperous. Within itself, it generates prosperity, and that is the truth of its nature. So our foundation now has become that we know there is only abundance, for that is God, that is God's law, and it is what is. And from there, once we have practiced those 7 levels we talked about, absorb the living principle as we see it in nature, as we see it in great creative achievements, we see the light of God active and happening everywhere. So from this point now, then the next thing is, once I've recognized what is, and I am again claiming what is, and I am saying that regardless of whatever, I am one with that is what the reality of my nature, then it is important to learn how to use correctly the creative laws, so that we can approach this unformed substance, this limitless substance of divine mind, and be able to, through right thinking and right creative sequence, we can bring intelligently and easily and harmoniously into being our good. We can materialize our good. So tonight I'm going to be talking about Deepak Chopra, Stuart Wilde, and some wonderful, the aspects of the creative laws that they go into. Okay, so now the thing is that we must realize that our will, and the highest use of the will is to determine, to manifest God, to think God, to know God, is to unify your will with a divine will. Thy will be done, that's what that means, okay? As it is in heaven, meaning as it is in the state of perfection, so be it on earth, in my everyday life. As it is in the highest state of consciousness, of perfection, so be it. Let me, through my consciousness, bring this into my right, apply this to my right now everyday life. That is bringing heaven's mind of perfection into our experience. So realize that, in this new millennium of freedom, this awakening of consciousness, one of the things we're finding out is that our will has been very lowered because of the influence of the I can't, you can't, it's impossible, it's too hard, there's not enough, all the lack limitation records we've heard about, we're all very familiar with them in all the forums. There's been an oppression. So with the human will, which is vital to your creativity because that's your point of choice, That's where, you know, the substance is unformed. So the first step in creation is choosing what you want to create. Not thinking how it can be done, that's what we're going to talk about tonight, but choosing specifically and unconditionally what you desire to create, knowing the kingdom is yours. All right, that's step one. Now the law of mind says that this unformed, limitless, responsive substance like clay, our thoughts, you know, are like molding the divine clay every time we think. If we do not choose, then others will choose for us. And we'll find ourselves playing out other people's ideas for us, other people's choices for us, other people's opinions about us, and what they think is right, and so on. And so that's a victim position. And when you're in that victim position, where you are not choosing and deciding for yourself what you want, you know, your major goals, and staying with them, you're falling into the victimhood. So you're not using your divine will. And remember, it says in the Bible that the Creator, God, gave man the highest, man, woman, the highest manifestation, dominion over all the earth, land, and sea. All right? So the desirable state for us is the state of dominion, authority, volition, choice, clarity. We should be crystal clarity, never allowing, you know, as we're ascending from the force of the race mind, as we call it, all that programming, we want to maintain that crystal mind of clarity, one with God in our intention. All right, so the first thing, and we did that, you know, the last Thursday, the first thing I asked you to do is decide what you want to manifest. Okay, that's the first act. So this is us using our divine will appropriately and clearly. All right, so we start with choice. And we know that if we do not choose in every instant and do not choose the highest and the best, then we can be magnetized by the force of others. You know, Catherine Ponder talks about this, and she is a great prosperity writer, possibly one of the greatest today. She's given tremendous insight. And she says that and she's a great demonstrator. She thinks that it is, okay? So, while she was evolving her consciousness, she said, I want a car. Okay? She was treating for a perfect right car and accepting a perfect right car to be manifest. And so very shortly after that, her son, she found a car was in her driveway with the keys. And her son had, you know, gone out on his own, you know, without her saying anything, and purchased the car for her. I see that you have the same experience. Now, so the one mind is always responding, and it responds, as Emerson says, through the open door. In other words, where the line of love is. So, of course, she and her son are in a state of love with one another, and there's no separation. So whatever she desires, he knows, just intuitively, in the one mind, right? There's no resistance there. So anyhow, but what she said is that it wasn't the car that she wanted. She forgot to describe the car. Okay? So they took that car back, and they exchanged it, and she got the one that she wanted. But here's the lesson about specificity, clarity, choice. You know, to describe to the mind, not how we're going to attain it, but what it is that we want to attain. Choose it, and choose according to yourself. And then, you know, he would have inducted or intuited that and shown up with that, okay? And it really is a big lesson, because if we don't, to the degree that we're not specific and don't realize that the kingdom is ours, we'll be taking less, we'll be compromising, and, you know, great yogi told me, once you start compromising your will, it is very, very difficult to get what you want, unless you have, you know, decide that you're going to transcend that, unless you can see that you have done that. So we must maintain our divine will, and the highest will doesn't mean forcing over someone else, It is choosing. Choosing what we want. Okay, so we've chosen. And what is the second step? Now, the second step that we must know is to realize, and this is important, going back to last week, we must realize at this stage what is. If we don't start to realize the truth of what is, in other words, the truth of my limitless possibilities, then we're going to have conflict in mind, and we're going to congest our demonstration. So if I have limitation in mind, like, well, I can't get a car, I don't have the money for that. That's a limitation, right? So that's saying it has to come in a certain way. So we should examine our minds before we go into contemplating and creating our good. Examine. Now, what am I using? What principles of the universe am I utilizing, am I aware of, that can help me create this? Okay, for instance, I can say, I want a car. I want a beautiful, at a perfect right price, if it requires price, if not, in whatever way, thank you God, right? So I'm open, I know, then I go to principle, I define, I say, well, what's the operating principle here of God? The principle is that all is available to me. There is no, in my Father's house there are many mansions. There is absolutely no restriction. So if I don't have the money, for instance, I don't have to be bound by that. I can say in perfect right ways. If it includes money, then let that be manifest. If not, let it come. I am open to receive my prosperity in whatever way, because it can happen in infinite ways, like the sun giving you a car, So we don't want to condition it. We want to know that the universe is unlimited, unconditional, and has the power to manifest for us the whatever in perfection that we have desire of, all right? So we realize there are no conditions. The universe, the law of God, God's law, is infinitely intelligent, omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent, knows how, knows if it requires for someone to come from India for the perfection of your business, let's say. Knows that before your conscious mind knows it, okay? Your subconscious mind knows that. So when you ask for, let's say you are doing business and you're asking for a perfect right partner, and you don't consciously know, but divine mind, the omnipotent mind, the omniscient mind knows. So that's why we realize there are no conditions, no time-space limitations, no separation. If we have to get over saying, thinking I can't, it's impossible, because like I said last week, if God can, God and you can. We don't have to rely upon our independent power. We just say God and me can, okay? So no limitations whatsoever. No limitations. God in me, as me, through me, can. I can, I do. I choose, I can, I choose, I do. I can, I choose, I do. That's a will that cannot be stopped. And if I place my will, my volition, behind anything, is there anything that can stop me? No, there is not. Particularly if I'm working within my divine inheritance, all the things that are mine, all good that is mine, and everyone's for that matter, and by divine right. So I am, we realize now, I am omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent. This is the truth about us as one with God. And the clearer and freer that we get, we know that we are the omniscient. We have, I can be here and I can have a thought about a friend, and I'm there. My more etheric bodies are there. So I am omnipresent. I am omniscient, one with divine mind, okay? And we access our gifts of omniscience, omnipotence, omnipotence and omnipresence through courting the Creator. Through, as I say, God in me can. God in me is everywhere evenly present. God is the whole thing. God knows where. That's how we speak our awareness, that we are one with that. Okay? Choice. Now, so you choose, you recognize the truth that will power your creation. You know, recognize the principles that will power your creation and ask yourself this: what principle is this thing that I want? What does it really represent to me? We just touched on this last week, but it's very important. What does it represent to me? And so you say, well, car represents perfect right circulation. What would this demonstration mean to me if I got it? Well, it would mean that I have unlimited good, you know? So you will see, if you ask yourself, what if I got it, what would it mean to me? What would that say to me if I got it? And that will tell you the principle that you need to incorporate and to affirm and practice, recognize it, and make it a part of your being. Okay? So you're the mystic walking along saying, I know that it is. As I do my thing, it's just going to appear in perfect right ways. Alright? So you understand that, right? Very powerful. What principle? I get this. Take yourself to the point of having it. Supposing I have it. What principle? What have I learned? What have I learned about God's mind? Okay? And to each of you, this will speak in a different way. Right? Okay, so choose, establish yourself a principle. Now, we have been given, along with our will, we have been given vision. The power to vision. Vision as higher than visualizing, and I'll explain the difference. Divine visioning is contemplating the highest and the best. So suppose, you know, you want, go back to a car, or say you want, you know, loving right relationship. So you inquire, you go into meditation, and by the way, you will notice in the Bible that God creates through contemplation. God thinks within God's self, and it is. God, the substance is, God doesn't have to go, or the mind doesn't have to go outside itself, outside that which it is, to obtain whatever. It thinks within itself. I am. I am planet Earth made manifest. And it is. I am Maya Karaja, with a vision of Maya Karaja made manifest. So we know that this is God's way. So the highest form of creation is through contemplation. Contemplating, before you have that good, contemplating, like a focused meditation, contemplating that good, all right? And then we say, God, or you, what is the greatest idea that you have for me here? What would that be? What is the idea of perfection for me here? And we are receptive at that point to receive of the highest vision of good for us. Right? So rather than visualizing, which can be mental force, we don't want to exert mental force, we want to receive of, we don't want to manipulate, we want to receive of the highest idea. So we vision then, and this is very important, and in the Eastern traditions, they have learned to do this. They have learned to cultivate the talent of staying with an idea, a vision, until it is materialized. And the West, we have, you know, wonderful capacities in the West, but because of the rushing hither and thither, we have not cultivated that power of great concentration and great focus and attention to be able to bring up things through. So we use our vision first by, courting the greatest idea of good, and then we vision ourselves, we project ourselves in it. So we say, what would this be like? What would it be like? Let's say I have it. What is my life like? What am I doing? How have I changed? What's going on for me? And we fill in that picture, and we envision that picture with love, completeness. Now, we're always carrying photographs in mind, right? Whatever our subconscious is on is going to be reproduced out there. It's like taking, you take a photograph and you put the negative in the emulsion fluid, and the picture comes out, right? So mind is like that, it's the unformed, invisible. But when we put it in the emulsion, it shows up. So we're constantly imprinting on the mind through our desired nature and through our vision and through our word what we expect. So we want to spend daily, cultivate this power to where ultimately you're creating only by contemplation, only through thoughts, and then because of the state of your consciousness, it is happening. But at this stage, we have to practice the vision because it's a gift of the Father to create as the Father creates, as God creates, through our vision. And our vision goes before us. So we have to have strong vision of good, and we must court that vision. Take time every morning when you wake up, and every evening before you go to sleep. Why? Because you are printing that on your subconscious mind, which is the creative power of your life. Your subconscious mind is one with all capacity. You just like God can say, give me this. The universal subconscious mind is all intelligent, all able, all receptive, since it is that omniscience, omnipotence, and omnipresence that we have access to when we want to fulfill a goal. So now we find ourselves through visioning, gratitude at night, and practice taking your vision all the way. Not, for instance, like, let's say an actress going for an audition. So she sees herself getting in the door, but she doesn't see herself getting the role. So I say, practice bringing your vision all the way through in love, love your vision through. Love it through. Love is life, it is the creative power, it is the force of the universe. So what can you do to help God help you? Love your vision through.